Ah, hit the button. Okay, so I guess I'm making a video. Kind of a rainy 4th of July video, I guess. Still went for my swim in the rain, but it's okay. It's not too bad. So anyway, every now and then I do find one of these conversation rooms, and this one's full of whatever, Carmel and whatever, Badger guy, Porcupine, I don't know, Hedgehog, I don't know who he is. But anyway, talking. And I've just jumped around, and so this is a little part here where there says something incredibly stupid that's relevant to this whole Hothla Day argument, where it's infinitely better for you to have a nail in the eye than me. And this is apparently supposed to be an example of a logical statement on the subject of ethics. I mean, you just can't get any, not even close. I mean, just not even close to rational. Anyway, so right here, the Carmel bitch, she is a bitch, she sort of has, I mean, she's been snarkily commenting for hundreds of years on the internet, and it's just kind of funny that she has this intolerance to anybody fighting back. Not funny, I mean, funny, not ha 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 funny, like she laughs at everything, but funny like ridiculous hypocrisy. But anyway, let's play along.
We're all part of the causal web,
but there are differentiations to be made.
There are, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are differentiations to be made. So, again, this is, you always have to parse the concept. Are we talking about generically? What's the function? So let's have the conversation in this in and of itself kind of manner, which nobody, I mean, it doesn't matter how many times I say that, or the word intrinsically, right? You've heard it in all these videos so many times, and no one's paying any attention to those words. But yeah, you're trying to get to the core of it. And then you can add on your conditions. Then you can add on your context and say it's okay to torture one person to stop the torture of 5 people. Yeah, then you can do that. But you don't do that having the conversation about what's the essence of it. And the essence of it is I can logically understand that my consciousness is not special consciousness. It doesn't feel more, it doesn't do any of this stuff. No reason to believe that's true at all. And that I can't logically just migrate a problem into somebody else's brain and call that a solve. That doesn't solve a problem, it just moves a problem. And a moved problem isn't a solved problem, isn't a good thing. It is factually true, okay, that it is not infinitely better for somebody else to have a nail in their eye than me. Conceptually, that's absolute nonsense. Intellectually, rationally. And we can know that. We could feel like it's infinitely better. But if you think it is, you're really, 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 really stupid.
Limits and boundaries and barriers.
Well, that kind of like what
It's too bad this audio is no good, right? I mean, she's too quiet, he's
I
too loud.
understand Gary's position on moral philosophy correctly. His idea is that one comes to a recognition that one should not harm others out of an understanding of the fact that their suffering and our suffering is essentially the same. Like that we might as well be the same people.
Well, yes, effectively. That the fact of the suffering, the actual experience, will be the same. The experience will be substantially the same. And that's all that really matters, is the experience. Experiences are what we're producing. That's our production. if we were dishwashers, those would be the washed dishes as experiences. And you just can't win in this dishwashing game by pretending, okay, that you can, you know, pass something on to problem stuff on to somebody else and somehow that's a solve. It's not. What else do I want to say on that, the way he's saying it? You know, I'm just trying, you know. Oh, well, let's play some more.
Of course, the main differentiation that I'd make between my suffering and another person's suffering is that I experience mine and I don't experience theirs.
Yeah, I know, but that, again, logically, intellectually, using your smart part of your brain, how can you possibly make that meaningful? Of course, you experience your consciousness. They experience their consciousness. The fact that you experience it, it has to be experienced to be a reality, to happen. But it doesn't unhappen because you're not experiencing it. It's just logically you can know that. It's not an unhappening because you're not experiencing it. You can rationally understand that. And if I'm going to, again, we're back to this ought thing, but I mean, my only issue with this is ought thing is I clearly can see the ought when it's happening to me. There's absolutely no doubt about it. I ought not to have a nail in my eye. Anything trying to put a nail in my eye, I'm going to say you ought not to do that. You know, there's not going to be any doubt about the ought not and what I ought and all that kind of stuff. It's quite obvious to me, this agenda thing, when it's happening to me. How come the agenda disappears when it's happening to somebody else? There's no logical reason for the agenda to disappear. If my brain recognizes that the problem is suffering, the problem is bad experience, it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with experience. And experience is happening to 7 billion other human beings and, whatever, trillions of other sentient organisms. That's where experience is happening. It's not happening just to me. That would be ludicrous. It's a ludicrous theory to think experience is just happening to you. Fuck.
I think that's the...
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know, if you have a person who just doesn't care, I have a hard time arguing against somebody who doesn't care.
So I don't know. So again, this caring thing. What does caring have to do with acknowledging the truth? Somebody's allowed to not care whether they, let's say they have a disease, they're carrying a disease, and they're allowed to not care about not informing somebody that, well, if you have intercourse with me or interaction with me, I'm going to give you a communicable disease. They're allowed to not care. I mean, I'm allowed to not care putting dioxin in other people's drinking water. I mean, just, this caring thing is stupid. The point is, am I allowed to not acknowledge the truth? That this is what the implications or consequence will be of the act. My argument is you're not allowed to not acknowledge the facts. You're just saying because I don't emotionally care, therefore it doesn't exist. And that's just idiotic. Your emotions are not an indicator of whether something is or is not a reality. Come on. I mean, it's got to be one of the biggest fallacies of all fallacies is the resort to emotion.
But I mean,
appeal to emotion.
I think it's perfectly possible to recognize that suffering is suffering between individuals and to still only care about one's own.
So he's saying it's rational to understand that your own feelings are important and the feelings happening to other individuals are not important. That understanding is sensible, reasonable, defendable, justifiable, explainable. I would argue that it fundamentally is not. It's fundamentally, on its face, insane as a statement of reality. Saying, I theoretically believe that a nail in someone else's eye is meaningless and a nail in my eye is incredibly meaningful, would be a ludicrously insane and insipid description of reality. It would be worse than saying the earth is flat and that the sun revolves around the earth. It is a worse description of reality than that.
Like, I don't think there's any inherent contradiction.
There, no contradiction. I can ignore something that logically I have no no reason, no ability to ignore. It's a fact. You cannot ignore, you can't avoid the truth of the fact unless you're willing to defend in some way your godness, your superhero-ness, your exceptionalism in some way to explain how you are, in fact, the feeling thing, and they are not really a feeling thing. I mean, this is just... It's just so stupid. I just don't know. I just can't believe I have to argue with somebody. This is dumber than racism.
Between those things.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, it's a tricky one. You can care about the world suffering, but what does that mean, really? What?
Oh, okay. So you can understand that things are suffering on planet Earth, and then you can understand why are they suffering. Well, because the nature of evolution would be one reason you could argue, because we've been evolved to basically have most of our kids die. We've been evolved to be tested through attrition, to destroy most of the inventions, to separate the good ones from the bad ones, that's the system we're from, and that our cultures haven't done anything to really enhance that game except say, yeah, we're cool, you're not. We're white, you're black. We'll kill you. Yeah, I mean, it's really not very smart. So the answer to why is there suffering in the world? Because the system's dumb and the people are dumber. Sad truth. And you're an example of that dumbness, because you can't even figure out the obvious. That suffering is suffering, no matter who's doing it.
Right, and even if you do, you're not going to care to the same degree.
Of course you're not.
You might be like...
Of course you're not. Again, so this is like a given. Like somehow you're just not capable of using any kind of thing like a Mr. Spock logic at all. You're not at all persuaded. Mr. Spock explains to you, well, look, silly person, it's a bottle, and it's a bottle. Yeah, one's named Jim, and one's named Joe. And they're doing the same damn thing. And it doesn't matter whether you're Jim or you're Joe. You're going to think you're special. You're going to feel like you're special. Because you have a you-ness. But you can logically know that the you-ness is in every bottle. As soon as there's a bottle, as soon as there's a experiencing thing, it's going to think it's the center of the universe. It's going to see the sun rise. Okay, the sun is a little thing, an insignificant little light bulb. It's a lamp. You're not going to see it as, oh yeah, that's the center of the solar system, and we're the thing orbiting the, we're the fucking, superfluous bit. But logically, you can know that. Come on.
Yeah, I like, for example,
Hedgehogs aren't as dumb as this guy. I mean, he's kind of insulting hedgehogs, or badgers, or whatever the fuck that is.
I'm kind of imperfectly vegetarian. I probably eat meat maybe like once every 2 months, and I do eat dairy products, and which really isn't any better than eating meat. So it's not like I live some sort of pure lifestyle.
Right, because you're not all that passionate about it, because you're all kind of just wishy-washy on it in principle, because, yeah, you don't personally have a feeling for the cow. You don't know any of the cows personally. You were never a cow yourself, so you really don't identify with them. So you can't just acknowledge the simple truth and realize, oh shit, that's not a good thing. I don't even mind if you fail, as long as you know that you say you fail, because I'm just addicted and I'm needy and I'm not strong enough to do better. That would be okay as an explanation. But this like glib, well, whatever, I just don't really care.
But I do hold that the way in which we basically subject animals to pretty miserable existence for the sake of convenience and culinary pleasure is pretty ethically appalling.
Yeah.
And yet, obviously, even though I do care, I don't really think about it that much.
Yeah. So I mean, that would be kind of, this conversation by aliens, right? Let's say the aliens were farming the humans and torturing them and then killing them, just treating them just awful conditions. 200 naked little humans squirming around in a bunch of mucus and pus and puke and poo. No orgy fun, just disgusting, horrid, yuck. And then they're killed. And the aliens sitting outside the little fence, having this conversation. Oh, this is just so dirty, and ew, look at this, this isn't nice at all, and blah, 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 blah. But I'm too busy watching my TV shows to give a shit. Yeah. I mean, you'd be just like, oh, man. I mean, they were having the conversation. They were trying to deal with the reality a little bit, and, they got distracted by a TV. They're running a replay of the Super Bowl commercials. I have to go do that. I can't worry about these stupid naked humans. You'd be pretty disappointed, I'm sure.
Like, I probably think about things that are of a minor inconvenience to me far more frequently than I think about what's happening to it.
Right, and you're celebrating that. Like, that's cool, huh? You're not just doing what I would do rationally and say, God, that is just such evidence of how much we suck. Is that something really horrific can be taking place, an actual Holocaust. And, I can't get off my glib dildo to really give a damn. Because I'm such a selfish cunt. And you can't just recognize that that's the real problem. You're a selfish motherfucking piece of scuzz. I mean, that's the answer, isn't it? The reason why you're not doing something about it or not obsessed by it is because you're a selfish piece of shit. No better than some Jew glib Nazi. Right? Most Nazis were just Jew glib. Right? But aren't they really the thing that facilitates the thing happening? All you glibbers who won't even admit we suck. If we can't do better than that, we suck. Repeat that after me. If you can't do better than this, that's what you should be saying to yourself right now. If I can't say something better than that, I must fucking really, really suck.
The cow.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly. And like, you watch the evening news and you hear some horrible tragedy occurred in wherever, Pakistan or something.
Right,
You
you
can't
say-
incorporate all the pain of all those people that suffered. You'd go insane.
right, so you go,
Right, so it's that you would go insane. It's not insane to get glib about it, though. I don't think you would go insane. I think what you would do is go sane. And then you'd realize, hell, we've got to fix this shit. Nobody should be allowed to hatch an egg until we fix this nest. We've got to make this a much better and much safer world, or we have no business hatching anybody into this shit. That would be the sane and rational thing to do. But instead, you just glibly twiddle your toothpick and toss it to the wind and say, I'm off to the human race.
go, wow, that's shitty. I'm glad I'm not them. And
Yeah, like you might
right.
even feel bad for them, but
Right.
you can't sit there and like weep for every single one.
Who's asking you to weep? Nobody. Again, acknowledging something's existence, accounting for it in the sense that this is just saying to yourself, this is not good enough. This is insufficient. This has to be fixed. Or the game isn't worth playing. Does that take too much work?
Individual that was
Right.
harmed, go insane.
Well, again, you keep saying you'll go insane. I don't think you. I think being insane is ignoring it. Ignoring Holocaust is being insane. Ignoring the price paid when you go to the store, ignoring how much something costs and just buying and buying and buying and not paying any attention, that's insane. Spending outside the acceptable budget, that's insane.
Except
Right.
part of you, so that's just a part built-in response to not be caring all the time.
That's just an excuse. That's a built-in excuse. Yeah, that's built-in response. It's not built-in. You're building it in. You propagandists, you supporters of the denial. You're the ones creating this response. This is not the native response. It's the propagandized response. It's the culturally indoctrinated response. Our response can be exactly the opposite if we just make that the popular response. There's no rule that this has to be your stupid, idiotic, glib response. Being glib and stupid and emotional is the way we should respond. No. It doesn't have to be the response.
About every tragedy that you see.
Right.
You literally would go insane. Maybe that's what.
Yeah, so you've said 4 times. I don't think it's a fact. You would literally go insane. No, you would literally go sane, and you would, instead of watching TV commercials, you would be advocating that other people maybe get with the program and recognize that they can't just shove suffering under the them rug and make it go away. It doesn't go away. It's still there. It's as real as fuck. Still. You just can't take your little glib broom out and sweep it away. It doesn't sweep.
What's happening is scary. He cares too much. I don't know.
Yeah, bullshit. I think too honestly. I really don't care. I mean, I care about stuff that Santino was a little bit off his food this morning. He had a little upset stomach. It just ruined my morning. I was upset. The cat is not happy. He's uncomfortable. He's distressed. And it distressed me. Yeah, but that's my emotional reaction based on my personal stupid addictions. But I'm smart enough to understand this isn't pain in the universe. This isn't suffering in the universe. Jesus Christ.
I read this funny article, not an article, but it was like a post on Instagram. Apparently some people...
I didn't even think she was awake in the room. I don't know. She just lets these, I mean, I don't really like the character of these rooms at all. But whatever.
When they experience something traumatic, they laugh. Like, if a loved one dies and they go to their funeral and everybody's crying, they're actually laughing. But they're not doing it because they're happy, but it's just the way they're trying to cope.
Yeah, well, that's what Carmel does. She laughs at everything's a joke. She laughs at everything. Yeah, fine. Whatever. What does this have to do with philosophy? Oh, that's right. This has nothing to do with philosophy. These people don't even know what philosophy is. Philosophy is describing reality, not describing what you feel.
Yeah.
It's a coping mechanism. It's just bizarre.
Yeah, I've heard that's a common coping mechanism in certain countries, like in the Philippines or Thailand.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, it's really not that. It's a, just call it a coping mechanism. There's a certain truth. Okay, that dying is not the worst thing that can happen to you. And in many cases, when somebody dies, yeah, it's worth celebrating because they're out of their misery. I mean, again, I'm not going to be all weepy and peepy, when my parents died, because they had it really good. Neither one had any cancer or significant, nothing horrible, blah, 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 mid-90s. They really had a great retirement, blah, blah, blah. They have nothing to complain about. I mean, there's no shortchanging. My sister, on the other hand, dying, with a 3-year-old daughter, well, that's a little different.
Because, like, those are countries where most people are pretty poor and, like, nobody's living all that great. But everybody just kind of laughs when something crappy happens.
Yeah, well, whatever. This is scientifically demonstrated fact somewhere. Everybody laughs when something tragic happens. I don't see that on TV too often. But whatever, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. So somebody laughs. I don't think everybody does.
To them, that makes their life even
She's laughing. Carmel's laughing at that. Yeah, yeah, that's funny. I saw that on TV. They had the big earthquake, and all the people were just walking around laughing their asses off. Hey, look at that guy. I didn't even know you could bend a leg that way. Yeah, they were all just telling jokes, earthquake jokes. Sure they are. Sure.
Already was. They just kind of like chuckle.
I thought it was like a psychological disorder or something. Like, I didn't think it was also cultural.
Yeah, well, right now we're laughing at the idea of suffering. So, I mean, obviously there's a mechanism where we often laugh as a reflexive reaction to fear and something we can't, that emotionally there's no way to deal with.
I do that.
Well,
I laugh inappropriately.
Yeah, I laugh inappropriately. Hang on. Oh, yeah, I do. Yes, you do. Perpetually and all the time and forever and whatever. Yes. And it's really quite irritating after about 5 minutes.
I don't know. Like, that's what I would do when I'm talking to Gary and he's, like, berating me. I don't talk to him anymore because he's just too hostile, but I, would kind of laugh when he was being all abusive. I'd just start laughing. And I think it is a defense.
Yeah, all abusive. Abusive in the sense that I call you what you are. A glib, insensitive, stupid, idiotic bitch. It's kind of rude. It's very rude. Some kind of anarchist, too. Just idiot. Multi-dimensional idiot. Come on, button. I hit the play button and it ain't playing. Well, maybe it's time for the video to be over then.
I think I saw one of those hangouts, actually.
Ah,
Like,
sure.
I think, yeah, I heard, it was like for maybe like 6 months ago or so, and he just like tore into you hard.
Yeah.
And
Because she was being glib. Glib. I hate glib and I hate nihilist. And she's pretty much a nihilist.
then you said something like, I think you're being verbally abusive, Gary. And he's like, I don't give a fucking shit. And
Right.
just kept,
Yeah, well again, why should I give a shit? Right? You're torturing animals and just glibly saying, well, tough shit, it's, I can't be bothered to do better. Yo, that's so much better. Making excuses for completely failing not to be a Holocaust perpetuator is so much cooler a thing to be than somebody who says, gee, I think you're an asshole. Saying, I think you're an asshole is so much worse than torturing an animal out of glib convenience.
Yeah.
Well, I did tell him to fuck off once, but we've only talked a few times. I'm not putting up with that. I don't.
You're not putting, no, I'm not putting up with it, okay? I kick you out of the fucking room. I'm not putting up with this idiotic, let's go through this whole fucking thing so you can say something preposterously stupid after an hour and a half of conversation. You'll just say something so fucking stupid. And, and logic just can't work that way. I mean, logic is this kind of staircase thing. And if you have a fake step, that'll get you in the long run. It'll always catch up with you. You can have different reasons. You can replace different reasons in a logical progression. But the reasons have to be somewhat coherent and connected to each other. They can't be too different. And if you put in some false notion, some Tinkerbell bullshit, some fairy dust bullshit, the whole thing is going to collapse. Each step really has to be tested, and it has to work. And it just can't, and you just don't get any of the fundamentals correct. So, without fundamentals, in my opinion, there's no logical progression. Your philosophy isn't based on logic. It's based on some sort of vague, well, as long as the guy who says it's the truth doesn't have a beard, it's the truth. I mean, it's irrational mush.
Well, I think that's a disconnect between the way he berates people and
berates people. So you're saying I berate people. I don't berate people. I berate certain kinds of people, right? And the kind of person I berate is the kind of glib motherfucking cunt bastards, okay, who are attempting to sell and propagandize a vacuous selfishness first philosophy that I think is the core, the root of all human evil. That humans are a dignified and decent machine if they could do something about this vice of selfishness.
His philosophy. Because, I mean, if he seems to really dismiss the idea that verbal abuse could actually cause suffering.
Well, again, verbal abuse, like if you saw me abusing like a kid or something, you could make this argument. But I'm not abusing a kid. I'm abusing a Nazi. I'm abusing something that has a maliciously and aggressively evil perspective. And the abuse is I'm not letting them retain any dignity in having that perspective. I'm humiliating that perspective. And they're taking it personally, but that's their choice. I'm humiliating the flag they're waving. Now, because they've identified with the flag, they think that's them. And that's okay with me. I'm just saying, understand, I'm really not attacking them. I'm attacking their stupidity.
Which he holds to be, the primary criterion of what is valuable. I don't know, try...
The primary criterion of what is valuable. I don't even know what's the context of that. Yes, I'm advocating there's a truth, that the truth isn't difficult to see, and it's only because you selfish, glib motherfuckers are too selfish and glib that you can't see it, and that you can't acknowledge it, or that you won't acknowledge it, that you'll evade it with this wishy-washy mush. I can't do any better. The world's determined. yeah, I can't help it. I can't help it. Bullshit.
Try living for a year with a family member or a significant other that insults you all the time.
Like everybody hasn't done that already. I mean, that's just so funny. Yeah, that's life on Earth, shithead. Yeah, grow up. Oh, this is just so funny in the context of people advocating for the Nietzschean, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger bullshit. But I mean, really. I mean, you're just fucking liars, really. I mean, go ahead, show me where real abuse took place, where somebody didn't basically advocate for a position that was basically, I like to rape women, and it's my right to rape women. And I counter-argued with, no, you're a malicious, evil, motherfucking piece of shit. So go ahead, show me the person who wasn't advocating from my perspective a philosophical position that is tantamount to, I will torture whatever I feel like, whenever I feel like it, fucker. I'm really saying you really can't bully somebody who's already a bully. I mean, the people I'm abusing are the bullies.
I'm pretty sure you'd be pretty miserable after it, or like dealing with a boss who, like, is verbally abusive day after day, like, probably.
Yeah, well, again, whatever. There's absolutely no obligation for them to try my patience, right? But there's no contract here. You don't have to work for me. There's no bullshit here, all right? I'm just saying there's a point where if you think I'm going to sit there and be tolerant and friendly to somebody who's basically advocating I'm allowed to torture, or I'm allowed to them, okay, other sentient beings, and pretend now their suffering is somehow infinitely less important than mine. Infinitely less important. Fuck you.
He's fairly miserable as a result of that, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck you. I mean, every inch of my molecular structure is, I think, probably pleased to be me rather than you, douchebag.
He's potentially inflicting suffering. I mean, luckily, I'm not.
Yeah, whatever. He's so. This is the level they'll stoop to. Here they are, glibly talking about how, oh, so what? Animals suffer, big deal. I'll do what I can. I'll throw them a penny. And then they're going to talk about me, causing them suffering. Yeah. What a pile of shit. You can't correct action, in my opinion, without whoever's getting corrected having to acknowledge failure, which is, back to Anna Kanavad, guilt-provoking. That's the only mechanism. You have to be humiliated out of stupid opinions. I had to be humiliated out of my ignorant, selfish philosophy. It's just the truth. I went through in my maturation, I was humiliated to realize what an asshole I was. Just a fact. So whether you do it to yourself or whether I do it, the bottom line is you're not going to change your mind unless you're humiliated into doing it. Because you're that much of a selfish cunt. You're such a we're made so selfish that we won't change our mind by mere, oh yes, that's the truth. We have to be humiliated out of it. Because we really are attached to fables and themes that benefit ourselves. We let go of the things that benefit ourselves, with a sticky grip. I mean, we let go of those things and some of our skin has to peel off. You can't just freely let go. A piece of yourself has to be torn off. That's just the fact of being selfish, possessive creatures.
Really, I'm not so hypersensitive. I can kind of blow stuff like that off.
Well, you can't. You're
But
just
I'm not
whining that you're whining about it. There's all this whining.
And then Gary's not really in a position of power over anybody. He's like,
right.
There we go. Now you're getting it. That's right. I don't have to tolerate you, and you don't have to tolerate me. And when I'm pretty much saying, fuck you, you dumb motherfucking cunt, I'm basically saying I'm done tolerating you, so you can leave on your own, or you can leave with my foot in your ass. But it's your choice, because we're fucking done, because you're just too fucking stupid for me to waste another fucking neural piece of energy on. Because you can't get the ABCs right. You're dumb, stupid motherfuckers.
he's not anybody's boss. He's not anybody's, he's not living with anybody. So anybody could disconnect if they want. But what I
Right, so you use two analogies to describe the circumstance that are now you're declaring totally irrelevant. Bravo! that was a nice trip down circular lane. Let's go to some more pointless cul-de-sacs.
I'm saying is if he were to deal with people in that way that he interacted with every day, like, that would make somebody's life pretty miserable.
Yeah, well, whatever. Again, you're speculating that I do that somewhere, and that's not what I do. So again, that's not true. I don't associate with people who are assholes for a long period of time in my life. So yeah, once I know they're unredeemable asshole, they're not part of my life anymore. So it's really hasn't come up as a problem.
Right.
Yeah. And even with us, or even the people he berates, that he could potentially cause suffering.
Again, that's the fact of life. It will potentially cause suffering to have to let go of a cherished fable.
No.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know, one...
I mean, what? Are you going to argue you're not an asshole? Is that what your argument is? That it isn't just fundamental, selfish, animalistic stupidity to have these stupid opinions based on emotion? Subjective taste? Like I said, again, it's okay for you to have a bigotry, a prejudice. It's when you defend it as a truth. That's when you've gone wrong. When you don't acknowledge it, that it's just your subjective problem. If somebody doesn't like, let's say someone was revolted by homosexuality, there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay to be revolted by homosexuality. But when you convert that into my sense of it as being revolting is the true, correct understanding, and that's what it actually is a bad thing, and I am properly reacting. Well, when you defend it, that's when you go too far. That's when you fuck logic and you fuck sensibility. That's when you become evil, and that's when you become entitled to the term, you're a motherfucking patronizing, pontificating, stupid motherfucking ignorant bastard.
You get insulted by one person in the course of a day, like, that could ruin your day.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. I don't understand any of that either. I mean, if the insult is true, I'm appreciate being improved. If the insult is false, how can it hurt me? How can it ruin my day? I mean, I guess it could only ruin my day as if Mr. Spock, said something insulting, or Jack Kevorkian, somebody I could actually admire as having a pretty logical mind. And if somebody with a logical mind was making this critique, it might mean something to me. But it's just a dumb fucking badger hog and a glib cunt. So, yeah, it doesn't mean anything. So anyway, enough of a video. Let's just jump ahead for the fun of it, see if they get to anything significant. Oh no. Oh. Birdman. Vic is just like a Vic or an Ace. They just put all the names of like the most popular name for a used car salesman. Oh, he's just such a cliche.
It didn't even cross my mind. But then my mom, she told me, no, you don't do that. No, bad, don't do that, right? And that's when I learned that I shouldn't do that. So the same thing with the robot, right? You can...
Oh, Mommy had to tell you. Actually, my experience, parents were pretty much compulsive liars about everything. So, yeah, it was pretty much you really had to go try it out for yourself because they were kind of full of shit. The only thing they were right about is I really shouldn't touch the mantle clock because every time I touched that fucking mantle clock, it fell and broke. 3 times they had to get it fixed, I just couldn't. So they were right about that. Don't touch the fucking clock because it'll jump off the mantle.
You can, obviously you would want to do that before it starts harming people or things. But yeah, you probably just tell it the same thing. You tell it no, and then it just learns.
No, robot. It just learns. Well, it can't do that. Robots can't do that because they don't have a learning program. They don't have a value system. And like I said, robots would find out you're pretty unreliable sources of information. You'll say, no, robot, you can't steal all my money. And the robot would say, well, yeah, I can. It's easy.
It tells me I'm being unrealistic, but I still have, you know, I'm cautiously optimistic that they will be able to cure aging or reverse aging within my lifetime, maybe.
Oh, within your lifetime. Yeah, well, it is a genetic function, so pretty much. The substance of it is built into certain bits of genetic time bombs. And I don't know if they can clean up all of them, but you would think they could definitely clean up the big one. Let's just say the biggest one, which would be the fact that our cells don't actually deteriorate. They just stop regenerating. They stop creating new cells to replace the old cells in any kind of you know, as incoherent in the same way they do when you're young. So all you have to do is give the genetics the illusion that you're 16. See, it's like there's diseases where the genetic code basically has the illusion that the organism is 80 when it's 5. And, you know, they age really rapidly and die. And so all it is a, you know, there's a thing, a little bit of code that you stick it in the right place, and your body will think it's still 16, and so it will process life as if you're 16, and so it will repair you correctly, and it will regenerate good cells instead of shitty cells. Yeah.
I mean, because they've already done it in rats or mice, right?
Well,
To a certain extent.
I don't know, to a certain, I don't know. Do they have any mice that are actually 30 years old? I'm not sure. You know, I don't know when, like if they invented it 5 years ago, they would only have a rat that's 5 years old. But yeah, I'm not sure if they've done that yet. But maybe they, I don't know. I don't follow all this stuff, you know, all the time. But that would be the proof of it, right? If they can do it with a rat and get a rat to live 30 years, well, then they know they got it.
They've not just stopped the aging process; they actually rejuvenated the mouse, right? Like it started becoming stronger and more healthy, which is really amazing. So
yeah, so but you know that doesn't, like I said, it doesn't cure everything. It doesn't cure cancer, and it doesn't cure other systemic physical damage kind of issues. But yeah, it would get you out of this syndrome where your body isn't being repaired, and that's really what aging is.
So it's only a matter of time before they apply. You know, they figure out.
And who cares? What are you going to do with these extra years except be a fucking irritating, annoying motherfucking cunt of a bird man who apparently has so much free time he can just hang out in these talk rooms bibble-babbling about nonsense all day. Wow. Yeah, you need an extra 100 years to do that. Sure.
The part of our DNA
You're evading death. That's just you're evading.
that causes that. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to become immortal because still we still live in these frail bodies, so we can still die from, like, you know, car accident or whatever. But at the very least,
it doesn't matter. Look, we're addicts, and it's all it's ever been about. It's an addiction. You get here, and you just start getting addicted to shit, and you'll perceive it as bad if you're not allowed to have one more donut. It's just about that one more donut. There's always one more. I could always have one more, and it's just that perception that keeps you in the game. The game is stupid. So, yeah, live out your life forever, do whatever as long as you want, but just don't make more addicts. It's just stupid. It's a stupid addiction.
medically, it's conceivable that, you know, we could be immortal in that sense.
Again, yeah, and in what way have you done anything or accomplished anything? I mean, in a way, you know, most of my life, I'd say the better years were when I was learning, not when I learned. You know, I mean, the knowledge years are harder to live through than the ignorant years. So, in a sense, the longer you live, the more you're going to see the gritty, same oldness of life. And that's not necessarily a good thing either. So I just don't even know about theoretically whether it does you any good. You know, I don't know whether you can really, you know, I just don't know. Yeah, if you're really going to be able to get it up, so to speak, after 100 years, even if your physical body still works, it's just been there, done that.
You know, even if it means that we have to go to the doctor periodically to replenish those telomeres or whatever they're.
Yeah, whatever. Let's jump ahead.
In South Africa, millions of women get raped a year. Like, every day.
No, but what I'm
rape.
saying is it's systematic. I'm saying they're not even shy about it. They're not even denying it. This isn't like in
Well,
most
why
other
aren't we
cases.
bombing them if it's, why can't we just...
We are bombing them. We are
Well,
killing
why?
them.
We're bombing Africa? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think we've been doing that lately.
Why not? Why can't we just do it quicker?
Because they're all over the place and they hide behind children and people and civilians. But anyway, they also will take these children and they'll use them as suicide bombers. It's another thing that they do.
I don't know what they're talking about, but yeah, it's a guerrilla war, quote unquote.
And that's right. So in a good school, like the element there is going to be different, right, than in a
The
inner
element.
city school or something. And then I could also expose them to children that I've already vetted, right, that I think are good, and I could invite them over to the house, or I can say, hey, why don't you invite Johnny to come over, or whatever,
Yeah, vetted them. Yeah.
Whether certain things would be legal or not to experience virtually.
Are you serious? Oh, that's true, because they do ban
Yeah,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have virtual child pornography allowed.
Why not? Well, anyway, I'm not gonna. It's just silly. Yeah, there should be no rules about virtual entertainment. Just silly. Silly concept. Harmless entertainment rules. Silly concept.
However, yeah, when as an industry, it leads to certain things like sex trafficking and
Yeah.
Yes, consequences. Truth and consequences. That's right. So, stuff is bad for its contribution to problems. But it's silly to think sometimes that you can fix a problem way over there by fixing something over here. That maybe you should fix something a little more directly related to what the failure is, the step that failed. But as I stated before, if it's a logical dependency, then the step can be anywhere, and you have to fix that step.
And like I described earlier, young women, if they don't perform these sex acts with their partners, they, they're...
Well, they should be. Anyway.
It's very annoying.
well, yeah.
Something is very annoying.
Yeah. So yeah, of course, if I'm sleeping at somebody else's house or if they're sleeping at my house, I'm not listening to a video while trying to fall asleep.
Yeah, whatever. Who cares?
Well, yeah, mine as well.
Might as
I think
well.
I'm my own worst critic, and I think that's probably true for most people.
Can't hear.
He identifies as a prosocial. Partial psychopath is what he called it. And he accidentally found out that his brain scan, his fMRIs were the same as the psychopaths that he was studying.
Yeah, that might tell you that brain scans really aren't worth all that much. Yeah.
The brain patterns on it.
them and like rubbing their belly, and then suddenly they're sinking their teeth in your hand. Like they just
Oh, cat talk.
they just go from like a complete change of, oh yes, this feels so good, rub my belly, rub my belly, rub my belly, chomp.
Yeah, well, you don't understand. That's kind of how they have sex. Sex is kind of aggressive with cats. So yes, it's rub my belly, and then it's I'm gonna fucking mount you. Yeah, with my claws out. Yeah. No. You even have spikes in their penises. It's a little aggressive. Alright, so we're done, I think. Finished. Blah, blah, blah. Moving on. And such. On with the day. I hear the birds birding out there. So, yeah, I just hate these people so much. And it's so irritating. So anyway, this is where I got the link. These are all comments that were spammed for some dumb reason. Great video. I'm going to download and re-listen to the Walk Later. Fly Arts Hangout is currently live. So somehow you got spammed for that. Just really stupid. I skip over the little angry bits. It makes those videos watchable. I hate this Laura Indiana. She's, you know, one of these fucking... I don't even know what she is. She's an idiot. Gary, can you give your thoughts on Bernie Sanders? My thought is, like a piece of poo, he's not Hillary Clinton. So yes, he should be president before she should be, because she's worse than electing a piece of poo as president. So yes, go Bernie. I like, generally speaking, he's progressive, socialist. He's a little bit too much of a bleeding heart for failure, welfare, whore bitches, and that kind of shit. But otherwise, anti-war for capitalist gain, you know, anti-rich getting richer, you know, so good. Yeah. Yay team. Go Bernie. I'm not even mentioned, but I've mentioned in my recent opinion at, so yeah, I did watch this guy, you know, the Atlanta Kia official guy, but, you know, the video was all over the place. So it wasn't very, yeah, it wasn't exactly, you know. So anyway, that wasn't really spam either, so I guess we can just say okay to all this crap. And now we'll move on. There was probably some comment I really did want to get to. Maybe if I go back, I can get to that comment I want to get to. I really don't like that when you hit the review button, it takes you off
they got
the
no
video.
dick. They got no sword. They got no...
The sword part. Yeah. I don't think Gary has a small dick because they have such big mouths. Or big egos. Gary, can you give your thoughts on Bernie Sanders? No, I don't want to do that. Okay, Earth Day. This guy's an idiot. How about not adding meaning to an illusionary concept altogether? It doesn't matter whether it's illusionary.